Good morning, welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live, Thursday the 13th of January, and I'm joined once again by Sean Martin at Haggerty10 on the Twitter handle at Sean Martin TCW. Morning Sean, how you doing?
Not bad, Tony. Aye, yourself?
I'm okay. How's your toothache bearing up? Sean,
It's still giving me jip, but I'll get there. I'll soldier on for the sake of the show.
What a tripper coming on there with the worst thing possible, toothache. Not very good. Now, Sean, allegedly there was a bounce game yesterday with Celtic. Now, I'm saying allegedly because there's been conflicting reports. It's not official, but from the information that what we've gleaned and what we have gathered as well, using our own sources, is that it finished 1-0 against St Mirren. Owen Moffat was the scorer, but the most important things to take from it, well, that Jullien played, the three Japanese players played, and James Forrest also featured. Now, we want to stress that there's been no official confirmation of that from Celtic, but that's what seems to have been gleaned. Also, people saying it finished 0-0, but we believe Owen Moffat scored near the end, Sean. Now, taking that as bona fide and reliable information, Jullien on the pitch is great. The three Japanese players on the pitch is great, and James Forrest back on the pitch is a great thing for Celtic moving forward, isn't it?
It is, aye. It's stepping up preparations, I suppose, in it. They had to get some sort of game time, even though there wasn't any time for proper friendlies to be arranged in terms of that. So a behind closed doors game is it's almost as good. It's as good as you're going to get, and it's not been that long a break anyway. You've got the benefit of the fact that it was only 2.5 weeks or something like that, so it should be all right. And then the fact that it helped Jullien get some semblance of competitive game time, even though ultimately it's not a competitive game, if you know what I mean, it can only benefit him in his recovery, because as far as we're aware, he's come through it okay. It's not like he's going to be in contention for Monday or anything, but it's a positive sign. Same with Forrest. I'd imagine he will be in contention for Monday.
Yep.
The three Japanese boys, as far as we're aware, came through it okay as well, so don't see why they wouldn't be in contention. And it's all about options, I suppose, at the end of the day.
The three Japanese boys were asked how they felt having come from a Japanese season, and they all said they were fit and raring to go. Aye. So obviously Ange maybe want to have a look at them, just assess that kind of fitness element. But I think players are fit, naturally fit anyway, Sean, so they will want to play for Celtic. They will want to try and hit the ground running, won't they?
Aye, I do take the point though that they're coming after a full season and different dates in the calendar full season as well. So if they stay fit between now and May, they've essentially played a season and a half without really stopping, that kind of thing. So you do need to make sure that you manage them in a way that doesn't increase their own risk of injury. But they're all young, they're all raring to go. They've all said that. I suppose out of the three of them, Hiddeguchi's the one with the injury history that you would be thinking, well, make sure you don't kind of flog him to the extent he ends up suffering for that. But no, I think it's fine. I think you go with the player's judgment until the sports scientists maybe and the physios tell you otherwise. And no, it's a positive. I think the performance of Hatate, if what I'm reading is correct, he was the one of the three of them that impressed yesterday. That was from one of the boys that played against them. So that bodes well. I mean, it was a mix of the St Mirren kind of younger players and first team, but regardless, it's a positive sign if somebody's standing above the kind of the rest of them already.
Biggest positive sign is Jullien coming back, really, isn't it? That's just a boon for Celtic at this time of the season. We've spoken about how he'll have to be managed, but just to see him on the pitch is good news for Celtic, back out there and hopefully going back to full rehabilitation.
Aye, and I think it would do him the world of good as well. See, it's been 13 months, even from a mental health point of view, for him to actually get game time, get back in a pitch, be in amongst another 21 bodies on the pitch. It's a very good step for him to be reaching as well. Now, as I say, I don't expect him to be near the first team squad for maybe a couple of weeks or so yet, but it's still a very big step in his recovery, especially since he's seemingly come through it okay.
James Forrest, you and I are both admirers of James Forrest, yourself in particular. Good to see him back too, and because he'll have a valid contribution to make before the end of the season.
Definitely, aye. I don't see why that. I think that's a fair enough point. I don't see why he wouldn't. If he's fit, he's still arguably the starting right winger for me. I think hope more than anything else that he's he gets a run of fitness that maybe takes him to the end of the season, and he reminds some of his critics just what he's capable of, that kind of thing.
Yeah, very much so. And about this, I don't want to dwell on Riley McGree. I think Celtic have moved on from that. I'm sure they'll be turning their attention to other targets. But we've spoken about it before, Sean. It's just nice that these players are coming back and gives the manager more and more options moving forward.
Aye, it is. I mean, the McGree one, I was listening to you and Alison yesterday, and I agree with both of the points that he's made, that it's not going to make or break the season. It would have been a nice addition. It seemed to fit the kind of the mould, but ultimately it's not going to make or break the season, not recruiting that one guy. So I would still like to see maybe another energetic kind of midfielder come in, a wee bit of bite in the midfield and add to the options there. But as I've said since early September, I would like to see, I think Hatati's that guy as well. I think I'm one of the ones that I do think that we miss Ryan Christie and what he brought to the midfield. That was why I think Hatati's the kind of guy that can kind of fill in a lot of those energetic, kind of wee bit of quality, but also with the industry to go with it, kind of vibes that Christie brought.
Will they turn their hand to Hans Wolf, Sean?
I still don't know about that one. I mean, it would be a great signing, but the sounds of it, all the data says it would be, the kind of the eye test says it would be. But I still think that the fact that it's in Germany, and despite people saying it's a loan, that it would be a loan deal, the amount of money that he's gone for already, I just don't know if it's the kind of deal that's actually going to get done.
Yeah, of course. Just have a look at the comments, as we always try to do. John Coyle comes in. Morning, John. It's a bonus to get these guys back in the pitch. Hopefully no adverse reaction for the returning players from injuries. Yep, very much so, yeah. And Frank Brennan says, Sean, get your dentist as soon as possible and get their own dental debt chart. All the best of dental health, good man. And Tim and on, well, hello Tim. Welcome sight having Forrest and Jullien back kicking a ball. Yeah, just what we're saying there. It's all boding well, isn't it? So we're just hoping that these guys can come back unscathed and get back and force their way back into the side. Because as I say, they've got a valid contribution to make. And Rab McCune, I'm hoping to agree one. I hope to say we'll need a few days to decide between us and Barrett and Nancy. If we can't decide, we don't want you. That's very much Andy's mantra. He wants players that want to play for the club, Sean. He stated that from very early on in his managerial tenure, didn't he? If you're not wanting to play for the club, then Celtic will move on.
Yep, aye. That was pretty early. He made that clear, wasn't it?
Very much so, yeah. And Stephen Creamer comes in. McGree isn't the best advice. There's more chance for a better club leaving from Celtic than lovely Borough. There you go. Frank Brennan. Morning, Frank. How you doing? We Jamesy ever does get a testimony, it should only be a case of him paying all of us to stand up. That's a bit harsh, Frank. James Forrest is the most decorated player at the club. I think you'll believe. I'm led to believe, isn't he? I'm sure he is. I think he has 19 medals, something like that. Yeah, I believe so.
9 league titles.
Yes. So, and then there was one that the Twitter started flashing last night, Sean. you know what I'm going to say here, yes. Philip Benkovic has been released by Leicester. Celtic supporters started to go into a kind of meltdown over that about would you take him back, would you not? We spoke off air, and I believe you're looking some startling stats that you can enlighten us with here, Sean.
Is it startling? I don't know. I think everybody knows he's not really been kicking a ball much since he left. But I must admit, I was surprised just how little he's played. It was, according to Y-Scout anyway, it's the equivalent. So I looked in minutes as opposed to just games, because he's often on the bench and not getting on and different things over the last few years. He played two games in the Premier League 2, which is essentially an under-23s division this season. He's 24, so that's not ideal. You don't want to be really reading that at 24. You're still playing under-23s, that kind of thing. But apart from that, since he left Celtic at the end of the 2018-2019 season, he's played the equivalent in minutes of 18 games, which again, considering we're at the start of 2022, that's not good reading.
I think that puts paid to the question, would you take him back, Sean? I think the answer to that is an unequivocal no. Yeah,
I would have taken him back 2 years ago, probably.
Benko and Paddy Roberts time of year again. Yeah, myself and Sean were saying off air as well that it was back in the day. It was Stephen Fletcher, wasn't it? And as you said, Owen Coyle that was linked with a managerial job.
Owen Coyle was the managerial equivalent.
John Coyle comes in and says, I thought Benkovic was utter class till he got injured. Don't understand what happened to him. And Rad McEwen, Sean Stato Martin delivers again. He does indeed. David Bradley, Benkovic not for us. Gary McDowell, he is signing for Udinese after turning their attentions to Benkovic after.
If that is the case, at least it means Stephen Welsh isn't. So
they're leaving Stephen Welsh alone. We're all for that. Yes, indeed. Now, I agree with John. I thought Benkovic was a good player when he played for Celtic, but
definitely was.
He stars shone brightly for a wee while, Sean, and then it just sort of petered out, didn't it?
Aye, it was. But there's a reason that he does keep getting linked with Celtic. It's because that is where he's played probably his best football. But it was only the equivalent of half a season, remember?
Sure.
He got injured as well at Celtic and ended up falling out of the team. But while he was playing, he was good. I think it was an ankle injury, I think. And they ended up, I think he only played like maybe 2 or 3 times after it in the second half of that season and stuff. So it was essentially the equivalent of half a season that he played at Celtic, even though he was there for the full season.
Frank Brennan comes back in here and he says, take the feedback and we James A. Tony, and for sure he has ability and he's still only 30, but for me he's really let himself down over the last couple of years and so he needs to do far better. That's fair enough, Frank. I'd take that on board as well. Your opinion's valid too. And here we go. Well, most people can't wait for Monday, Sean. Michael can't wait, mate. Yep, indeed. Monday's a big day for a lot of the Celtic fans getting back into the stadium and football returning. And I was speaking to Alison the other day as well about nice subplots with Sean Maloney coming back as a manager. And people will want to see how his team plays, Sean. They'll be keeping their eye on that as well, Celtic supporters, to see if Hibs actually come out and have a go, because Hibs have signed a few players in the window too. They
have, and although it's kind of gone under the radar, I actually think that signing Harry Clark, defender from Arsenal on loan, is a really good move for him and for Hibs, because he was a standout at Ross County, statistically and the eye test and stuff. He was really, really good. He's obviously not going to make the breakthrough at Arsenal, and I think Sean Maloney saw there was an opportunity to get him in, a guy who's already been playing in the Premiership kind of thing, and has kind of recruited in that sense, with the idea maybe that he'll get him permanently at the end of the season. And I think, listen, the jury will be out on Sean Maloney's a manager until he's been a manager for a while, that kind of thing.
Yeah, of course.
But the signs have been good for a while. The things that he says, the way that he seems to be approaching quite a modern approach to. Now, it all depends on everybody buying into it. Of course, that's the same with every manager, I suppose. But at least he seems to have an approach that sounds anyway quite easy to buy into. So we'll see how he does. Hopefully, doesn't get off to a very good start. But after that, you'll see. Maybe people will look with a wee bit kinder eye on him. But
David Bradley putting you in the spot here, Sean. Who's your team for Monday night?
Oh well, I'll leave you until tomorrow for that, David. Tune back in when we're doing our predicted lineups.
Then David Hughes comes in and says Hibs game will be a cracker and may suit us if Hibs open up and attack the way Maloney has suggested. I think that too. I think it'll be a right good game, because I think Maloney is an attack-minded manager. Frank Brennan comes back in paradise on a freezing cold Monday night, so let us all roll the boys into victory and a clean sheet too. That would be what the doctor ordered, Frank. Indeed.
I think
the jury still at Maloney.
I think if Hibs do open up, it always helps Celtic if any team opens up, because it becomes a kind of a tit for tat game, and Celtic more often than not will win that. But it's easy to say that you're going to come out and open up, but what if you've not got the ball? That's what I'm wondering. Like, it might be like the cup final, where the personnel that Hibs put out suggested they might have gone for it, but in reality Celtic just had so much of the ball that, especially in the first half, Hibs just stood there basically.
Yeah, indeed. I totally agree with that. Yeah, and also in the cup final, it took the Hibs goal to jolt Celtic into kind of a reaction, didn't it? Because I think it was still have gone 0-0 for a long period.
It probably would have, but it was Celtic were obviously, as they usually are, were the ones trying to make something happen. Honestly, in that first half, Hibs offered nothing really, but the second half they did start a wee bit better. Obviously, they scored first, but then the fact that Celtic literally equalised right away from the kick-off after that that sparked the game into life as much as anything else, because I can see where you're coming from. If it was 1-0 and they had a chance to set up in a way that frustrates Celtic, it would have dragged on a wee bit longer. But the fact that Kyogo get that goal so soon, you said it at the time to me, we were there, you turned around and says there's only going to be one winner now, there's no way we're losing this kind of thing. So, and that's the way that it became once the game opened up that wee bit more.
Gary McDowell comes in here. Sean, here's a question for us both. Do you think Celtic should have been trying to sign Souttar?
We've talked about this before. I like John Souttar for Celtic. I think he would be a decent player. He'd be a useful addition. It's obviously a pre-contract, so it probably wouldn't have been until the summer that he was at the club anyway, unless they pay the kind of nominal fee to get him now. But just now, listen, I'm all right with the centre back options just now. If everybody's fit, Jullien's coming back. There's 4 options there that are decent to really good. All right, the jury's still out in Starfelt. I'm sure you're hinting at as I'm saying that. But apart from that, you've got Carter Vickers, who's taken to Celtic like a duck to water. He's been really, really good. Stephen Welsh, who I do rate very highly. I think he has got a future at the club. And then you've got Starfelt, who's obviously got the jersey next to Carter Vickers at the moment, and Jullien coming back, who's expected to make a claim for his first team jersey back again. So you've already got 4 there. So if you're looking maybe to somebody to arrive in the summer, Souttar seemed to fit the bill a wee bit, but I don't know. You'll see.
You've also got Benkovic coming back as well.
Aye, Benkovic to arrive as well. But...
and Stephen Kramer comes back in and says, Maida announces himself with a double Monday. You heard it here first, folks. Well, we'll come back to you on that. We'll reconvene on that, Stephen, and see if you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And John Coyle says Souttar isn't any better than anything we have. I think that's something that we've alluded to too as well, but it's all a matter of opinion, isn't it, Sean? There you go. And Isaac McQuaid, just to put a wee dampener on things, says the Jota lagging a bit. But we've spoken about this, Isaac, that the Jota signing doesn't need to be done in January. It can be done at the end of the season. Yep. So I'm pretty relaxed on that. Celtic maybe trying to conclude it in January. If the player wants to come, then maybe it will get done. There you go, Frank Brennan. There's more injuries in Sean says than there is at Glasgow High Court.
Coming for me today, Frank, isn't it?
That's a popularity, Sean, when people are having a bit of banter. I like that.
The Jota signing, I'm not worried about it until you're being told it's not happening, basically, because it could happen at any point. It doesn't need to be done in January. It doesn't need to be be rushed or anything like that. I think it was Alisson that says, by the same token, don't get carried away, because if it was done, you would know all about it. So, of
course, I think Celtic would be. Alisson said, I think her sense was Celtic would be shouting it from the rooftops, and I totally agree with that. And as I say, I'm fairly relaxed about Jota and Cameron Carter-Vickers, because Celtic do have the option to buy, and I think it will come down to the players. Dear. Ozzy Adam comes in. Will we go back to a back 3 against Dundee?
Hibs, obviously. Hibs, means.
Hibs, I think.
I wouldn't think so. I think he'll go back to a back 4. I think
it's
good to know that he is open to the back 3 again. I mean, I wrote a piece about it, that he used it with Australia, and it wasn't necessarily a surprise that he's used it at some stage. It might not have been now that he wanted to use it. He might have maybe been thinking later on, but mixture of injuries, unavailability, the personnel who were available, that kind of thing, has made it that he thought, right, this is the best time to try the back 3. I think it worked all right. I think it gives him an option if he wants to mix it up against maybe teams that are sitting even deeper, just to give the other team something else to think about, that kind of thing. I think Stephen Welsh looked as if he might like playing in a back 3, to be honest. But no, I don't expect him to go to a back 3 straight away. I think it'll be back to the 4-3-3. David
Bradley comes in and says, Tony, when more money is mentioned, we could be in trouble with Jota. Well, I think this will play out the way it plays out, David. Celtic seemingly have an agreement with a fee, and you know these deals are always complicated. They're always tricky. You don't know what goes on in the background. I think ultimately it might come down to the player's personal happiness, and if he wants to sign for Celtic, Sean, could be wrong in that, but he seems to be happy. Celtic seem to be doing all the right things, so I don't think it'll be Celtic's fault if this one slips through the net.
I tend to agree with that. I think the way that the situation has been portrayed anyway so far is that Celtic are willing to meet their obligation, or it's not an obligation, it's an option, but meet the fee that's in the kind of deal. And if that's the case, then it is down to the player. I mean, I suppose the other argument would be maybe there's maybe a disagreement about wages or something like that would be the only other thing. But I think ultimately, I agree with you. I think it would come down to whether Jota himself wants to stay rather than anything else.
Yeah. Rab McCune's given his starting 11. Hart, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Welsh, Juranovic, Taylor. You like Taylor, McGregor, Hatate, Rozic, Forrest, Abida, Maida. Starting 11 for Monday. Food for thought there. Rab, we will, as Sean said, endeavour to give you our starting 11 tomorrow. I think that'll be, Sean, Friday.
Well, we'll certainly discuss it, and then it'll be up on the website for the more in-depth justification for why we've picked who we've picked as usual.
But counting the days till Monday, we'll reconvene same time, same back channel tomorrow. Hopefully you can all join us then. Listen, as always, thanks for your contribution, guys. Love the chat. Always enjoy it. And cheers for your contribution, Sean. Always enjoy that too. All the best.
Cheers,
have a great day, people.
Cheers, guys.